Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
This is Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, professional speaker, performance enhancement expert, and author, Sean Douglas. Welcome to all of our listeners who are listening from wherever you are. This show is currently heard in 30-plus countries, so thank you so much for your support and listening to the show. This show is heard in such countries as U.S., Brazil, Canada, France, Australia, and New Zealand. So thank you so much to those who are listening right now from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformations. Here we tell the stories of why we are doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we are using these two to help transform others and elevate their lives. You can listen to us every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time and also on the first and third Fridays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. On the show are impactful and amazing guests that are impacting everyone around them. And my guest today does exactly that. If you have any questions for any of our guests on our shows, this is a live show if you're catching it on the Wednesday or the Friday. And you can call in at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. You can also go to iTunes or Stitcher or TuneIn, and you can subscribe to the show so that you don't miss anything whatsoever. And it is time to welcome to the show Melissa Thomas. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Sean. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm excited.
I am super excited to have you on the show. Love talking about money. I'd love to get better with money because I'm not the spender of the relationship, but I never second guess whenever I buy something I really want. So I gotta kind of.
I gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not this bad. Like I gotta buy this. I gotta buy that. I'm not that. But it's like I know. Like I'm the guy who's like I just literally was like, yeah, 5,000 speaker coach. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I totally
right on.
get that. I might know,
someone
I mean? Who can help you with that. Yeah, it's awesome.
Awesome. I'd love to meet her. Awesome. So I want to start out first by thanking you for your time. I know you're extremely busy, and it is a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. And before we get started, I want to take just a couple minutes to first of all thank you for your military service. I'm a spouse of a retired United States Marine, so you guys hold a very special place in my heart, and I really appreciate your duty to our country and keeping us all safe. And thank you for this platform that you've created. This is such an awesome thing for people like myself to be able to come in and encourage and inspire other people to as I will quote one of my favorite quotes by Thoreau, to go confidently in the direction of their dreams. And then last but not least, thanks for having me. I'm just super, super excited. I love doing these kinds of interviews, and I'm excited for the questions that you're going to ask me and ready to go. So,
perfect. Let's do it. So this episode is entitled Overcoming Financial Obstacles with Melissa Thomas. Melissa is a wife, mother, a dog rescuer, and an entrepreneur. She has the distinction of being the only person in her family to attend Catholic school from kindergarten all the way through college. Melissa has spent more years of her life with a dream than without one, and is passionate about helping others overcome the financial obstacles to pursuing their dreams. In late 2009, Melissa and her husband decided to get better with money by getting out of debt. Melissa decided that her number one reason to become debt-free was to have money to go to Elton John concerts and fulfill her dream of meeting him in person. On her 40th birthday, the last payment to Sallie Mae was made, and in total, $43,544 of consumer debt was gone in less than 4 years. Money was no longer standing in her way of pursuing her dream. Turns out, Melissa's pretty good at this budgeting thing. And in 2012, she became the owner and founder of Melissa the Coach. You can go to her websites in the show notes. All of her sites are there. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything's there. Go to Melissa with one L, Melissa, melissathecoach.com. Go to Facebook /Melissa the Coach, Twitter and Instagram, same thing. So, I mean, I love that. I mean, you said it. You set a goal. You're like, okay, I got to meet Elton John. Got to go to the concerts. Got to like that was your for that moment of getting out of debt. Like that was your why, which is the first question I'm going to ask
exactly
you.
Right.
Yeah, I believe that's the first question you always have to ask yourself every morning when you wake up. Every time you make a decision, every time you do something, it's like, why am I doing this? What is this going to bring me? So, what was your why for becoming the owner and the founder of your own company? Why become an entrepreneur? Why do you do what you do now?
Well, I love answering this question because I never, in all my thought processes of what I was going to do when I became an adult entrepreneur was never on any list that I ever wrote out. So, and owning my own company and doing what I do. But as you read in the intro, I am a born, raised, and practicing Catholic, and I have a pretty strong sense of following the path, or at least trying to follow the path that God has laid out for me. And so in the process of becoming debt-free, I just started helping other people doing the same thing. I learned how to coupon, and I started teaching coupon workshops, and I would say words like budget. I would say words like budget and getting out of debt and doing things, and people would say, I don't know what you mean about a budget. And I would go, what are you talking about? How do you not have a budget, right? Because by that time, I was doing a budget because my husband got paid twice a month, so we did our budget twice a month because that's just what worked. So we're products of Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University course, and so we did the budget every 2 weeks. And so by that time I was teaching coupon workshops. I was well into, doing a budget twice a month. And so then I would say to people, well, you stay after and I'll show you how to do a budget. It's really easy. It's a piece of cake, right? Because I had already been doing it. What I didn't understand was I had forgotten how hard it was for me to get into the budgeting process, right? And so as I started helping other people, I was like, oh, right, this is easy for me because when we started FPU, I was 100% totally immersed in the process and did everything I could to learn how to get this budgeting stuff under control. And so I learned it fairly quickly and caught problems and reworked the budget and got something working in a fairly quick manner. But not everybody is like that. Like, not everybody is a type A. And so I had to
learn
how to deal with people that were not that gung-ho and we're not, we're just kind of like, and also the fact that society teaches us that budget is a bad word, right? Because budget means you have to eat beans and rice and you can't have any fun and you can't do things with money that you want to do. And that's not necessarily true. It just all goes back to your decisions. And so, you can get out of debt faster if you eat beans and rice, but if you're not willing to eat beans and rice, then just don't eat beans and rice. Like if you want to go out to dinner every night, go out to dinner every night, but know that choice is going to have an impact on your financial goals. And so all that stuff kind of pulled together, and I had and I know we're going to talk about this later. I told the story in the book, but I basically was teaching a coupon workshop, and a friend of mine who's an entrepreneur, she's a website designer, right in the middle of the workshop, she stopped me and she said, okay, you need to stop for just a minute. Just stop. And I was really taken aback because I wasn't used to being, like, interrupted like that right in the middle of my PowerPoint presentation, And so I was like, And she goes, I need to talk to you when we're done. Can you stay after? Like, are you in a hurry to go home? I'm like, no, I'm good. Because at this point in time, I had modeled my coupon workshops sort of like in the direct sales model that I would go to people's homes and teach a class like on couponing. And so then each person, would kind of recommend me to another person. So I was in her house and And I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. No, I can stay. And she sat me down at her dining room table, and she said, number one, you have a passion for this stuff like nobody I've ever seen have a passion for this stuff. And she said, number two, you need to do this as a business. You need to, I think I was charging people like $9 a person or whatever to take this coupon class. And she said, you need to charge people more money. You need to double your rates. You need to do this as a business, and I'm going to help you get everything set up. And I looked right at her, and I said, no, thank you. I'm good. And she goes, you are crazy. I said, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to own my own company. Like, I'm totally fine teaching coupon classes once or twice a week to kind of get out of the house, because at this time our boys were probably 6 and 5, so I'm like, okay, just get out of the house a couple nights a week because I was a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, I'm perfectly fine just doing this. And she's like, She's like, I'm not going to accept that because you are so passionate about helping people. But I was really resistant to it because at the time, the only thing I knew about being an entrepreneur was that it was a 24/7 job. And I was not willing at that point to get into that at that point in my life, And so she was like, okay. She said, I think you're making a huge mistake, but when you're ready, you call me and I will help you with whatever you need. And I was like, okay. And I went home, and I don't even think I talked to my husband about it because I was like, that's such a crazy, crazy idea. Like, I can't even wrap my head around, like, owning my own company, teaching coupon workshops. Like, that's ridiculous. What, like, I don't even
wait,
get
you
that.
can charge for that? Like, this is a thing?
Really, like, like, I could make a living doing this kind of stuff, right? So then a couple months after that, I was teaching a coupon workshop, and, similar things sort of happened, except it was after class, and one of the participants was like, you can tell, I could tell that you really love this stuff and you're really passionate about helping people. And I was like, and this was a person that had no affiliation with my friend Holly, didn't even know I was teaching, so like the two incidences were not related at all. And then the third thing that happened was that I'm a little bit of backstory on this. I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. So my husband had bought me the autobiography of Rudy from the movie. But my birthday's in September, but I didn't read it until November because I just added it to my stack of books, and I said I'll get around to reading this. And I was reading the book one night, and later in the latter part of the book, there's a passage, and it's sort of a long passage, but the summary of the passage is that if you have a passion for something, you have a personal responsibility to share that passion with other people. And I read that paragraph, and I distinctly remember, like, just having this heaviness, like, whoa, I've got to marinate on that for a while because that was huge. Like, that's just huge, And I closed my book and went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and my very first thought was start your business. And normally my very first thought in the morning is, where's my coffee? So I knew that was God's voice speaking to me in my head. And so I was like, okay. So I called my friend Holly, and I said, hey, that business thing you were talking to me about, I'm ready. Like, I want to start my own business. And she's like, oh, that's awesome. I'm so excited. Like, she was just waiting for me to call her. Like, she just knew that this was going to come. And so she said, so do you have a business plan? I said, no. She goes, have you filed your LLC? I said, no. She goes, open a bank account? No. I'm like, Holly, I woke up this morning with start your business. I got the kids off to school. I came home. I called you. Like, that is as far as I have gotten about starting my own business.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, okay, that's great. Like, let's get together and let's work all this out. And then she said, when do you want to open your business? Like, what does this look like? And without thinking, I sent to her January 1st. Now, this is the middle of November that I called her. And she goes, oh, that's great. So we'll have like 13 months to get everything together. I'm like, no. Like in a month and a half. And she said, no one starts a business in a month and a half. I said, great, I'll be the first because I can't wait. Because at that point in time, again, being the type A personality, I was ready to start my business that day. Like, once I had committed to it, I was like, let's go. Let's get this thing done. So I went into business not knowing a single thing about being a business owner or running a business. I just knew that this was going to be my way that I could help people and I could make some extra income. And because one of the things that Holly had said to me was that, because I said, I'm worried about the whole 24/7 entrepreneur thing. Like, I've got to figure out how to not lose myself and my family in this process of starting my own business. And she said to me, Melissa, it's your company, so you decide how many hours you want to put into it. And I had never, like, that had never occurred to me. Like, it was just, like, I just always felt like there was this unwritten rule of entrepreneurship somewhere that you had to work 20-hour days and you had to do all this stuff and whatnot. I knew that I was going to bootstrap my business, and I knew that I was just going to grow it organically, and however it grew was the way it was going to grow, and whatever opportunities came up were the opportunities that I was going to get into. And so I launched my business on January 1st of 2012, so it was about a year before we became debt-free, but I was well enough into our process of getting out of debt that I felt confident that I could tell people, hey, I know we're not out of debt yet, but we're super close, so I can still help you. Like that, that sort of thing. We weren't brand new into the process.
That's awesome.
And as you know, being a business owner and helping people is all about, like, as long as I'm 2 or 3 steps ahead of whoever I'm trying to help, I can help you. And so I just knew that as long as I was further along in my process than the people I wanted to help. So I started my company with the idea of who's in a financial mess, because I'm not in a mess anymore. I'm climbing my way out. So if you are where I was, I can help you. And that was basically my business plan, and so that's how it started.
That's awesome.
I did coupon workshops and then kind of transitioned into the private coaching section. So
what was that transformational moment that set you on the path? Was it that lady or whoever you met? Was it that person saying, hey, I want to help you with the business and I want to like what was the transformational moment that set you on the path to what you're doing right now?
Well, the moment was really outlined in the fact that as an adult in my faith walk, I learned that God speaks to me in threes. And it's just because I don't listen the first 2 times because I'm stubborn. And so for me, it was my friend Holly said something, the other lady said something, and then I read that passage in a book. And it was like when I read the passage in the book, and after I thought about it, I was like, oh, see, that's what God wanted me to do this all along. I just didn't listen the first time, and I just didn't listen the second time. And so then the third time, it was sometimes I like to joke about, like, if God had been there, he would have hit me over the head with the book and been like, read this and get to that passage, and this is what I want you to do, And so because I have a passion for helping people to manage their money in a way where they can live their life similar to Rudy having a passion to play football for Notre Dame. Like, I love helping people. That's my number one passion. I'm a helper person. So even if it's not money, people come to me for a lot of things that they need help with. And I'm able to find the resources, or I love being I'll look that up for you and get back to you, and all that kind of stuff. And making, connecting people, I've become people call me and say, oh, do you know someone who can do blah, blah, blah? And I'll go, well, I don't, but I bet I know somebody who does. So let me get on the phone and make some phone calls, and I'll get back to you. Doing all that kind of stuff, because I've learned how to build a network, and I've learned how to get all those resources together. And I love being the go-to person for that, because I love being helpful to people, and that's a real passion of mine. And so that's really what I guess is the driving force behind starting the business and figuring out that people will pay me to help them. Like, I can do it out of the goodness of my heart, but I can also run a business around it. And
right.
and that concept took me a while to get. And even now, when people pay me, I still get this like, wow, people paid me to help them with their budget, because I love to do it. And so it took me a long time to kind of grasp that concept, that thing you love to do, and it's okay. You know?
Yeah.
So because that isn't always the case sometimes. So, yeah.
Yep. One of Jim Carrey's most famous speeches that he gives at high schools and whatever, you know, he's talking about law of attraction, you know, ask the universe for it. I'm giving you permission.
Yes.
Like, ask the universe for it. He says, you can get paid doing something that you hate, so you might as well just take a chance and try to get paid while doing something you love. You know, so I was like, man,
awesome.
like, how
That's
profound
awesome.
is that? You know, like, you can get a job with something that you hate, but why not at least try to get paid for something that you absolutely love to do? And that's what happened when that's what happened when I became a speaker. Like, I didn't even know I liked speaking. I was a drill instructor for basic training, and I was like, man, I'm really good at this. Like, people listen. Like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like a power trip, but it was like people actually take action for what I say. You know, like, this is pretty cool. And then I got asked to speak at a high school one time, and then I was judging ROTC drill meets, and it just escalated from there. And I look back, I'm like, this was meant to happen. Like, the way that everything happened, that was how it was meant to happen.
That's
you know,
correct,
and it sounds like it's the same way that kind of happened for you. You know, you want to get out of debt, you learned some things, you took your knowledge and started, doing the classes, and then somebody was in your class, and then it just escalates from there. So
that's exactly right. And
that's awesome.
It's the same. In my path to public speaking is similar to yours. You know, like I got asked to speak. I'm a former high school teacher, so I got asked to speak at a high school. One of my friends teaches a life skills type class, and one of the sections is about money and budgeting and finance. And she said, I want you to come talk to my kids and tell them your story and teach them about, you can live without credit cards and you can do, all these things. And I'm like, I'm a lot of years removed from being in front of high school kids. Like, I'm not sure I can do it. But, it's my friend, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Well, it turns out that the high school kids now are pretty much the same as the high school kids that I had 15, 20 years ago. They're just, they all have cell phones now, and they all have, there's a technology gap there, but they're basically the same kids, and they were eager to learn, and they're excited, they were excited about learning. And the thing that, kind of made me feel old was that when I was telling my story, and I said, I got my dad's cassette tape of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and then I stopped and I went, oh, you guys don't know what a cassette tape is, right? And like one kid went, I do, and I'm like, that's fantastic, like, but then because like they don't do cassette tapes and CDs, right? Because for this generation, everything is on iTunes. So I'm like, I can't say I found my dad's iTunes account, like that doesn't work, And so,
right? Oh my gosh, that's funny.
It was really a lot of fun, and I learned that I love that, and then having them ask me questions and doing all that stuff. And then that led to another high school speaking thing. And then that led to, hey, can you do the 10-minute presentation at this networking event and do it? So just doing all these little things. And I learned that I loved it. And then, I've worked my way up to speaking at conferences, and I joined Toastmasters and just sort of building up my experience. But speaking at a conference is really my love. I get so energized in front of a large group of people. I love the small group intimacy, but I also love the large group where there's 100 people out in the audience, and that sort of thing. I just love it. I get very energized off of that. So it's cool.
Yep, I know the feeling. When I walk in, because I always ask them, like, how many people are you expecting, this, that. And I'll do, like, the intimate ones, about 10, 20, 30 people. I'll do, like, my resilience boot camp that I do 4 times a year. That is about 30 to 35 people. I keep it small, so it's more kind of intimate. I mean, I've been to conferences where it's about 340 people. I'm like, let's do this. Like, I get so pumped. I'm like, yes.
Yes, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yep, I get that. Yeah, I get that feeling. I know what you're talking about. And so talking about transformation, what do you think was the best part about your entire journey so far? What sticks out for you?
Of getting out of debt, or pursuing my dream, or like what part?
Yeah, I mean, what like your transformational moment. So like we go through these, and we have constant transformational moments. You know, we're on this path
Yes.
that didn't work. We kind of moved this way. We went through an up and down, and and all that. But what sticks out for you? You know, like after that transformational moment. You know, so you built your business and, became a speaker. And, is there something that sticks out in your mind that says, man, I'm so glad that this happened? Or I remember this one time I was at a conference.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, I would say it's the time freedom. You know, a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, well, I go into business because I can make more money working for myself once I get my business up and going. And that is true. And, not that I don't want it to sound like I don't enjoy making the money, because that's awesome, because then I can be, I'm a believer in the mantra of we are blessed to be a blessing. So obviously the more money I make, the more I'm able to help other people with that. But really for me, it's the time freedom. It's the freedom to go on a field trip with my boys. It's the freedom to not have to work on Friday, or on Saturday. It's the freedom to, take 10 days. And my most recent trip, I was gone for 10 days. I went to Vegas to see Elton John, and then I went straight from there to a financial conference in Dallas. And that I can work from my laptop. I can work from my phone. I can work from wherever, and that I set my schedule. So one of the greatest lessons I learned in business is that I run my business. My clients do not run my business. And so putting those boundaries in place of, somebody calls me on a Saturday, that I can text them and say, I received your call, but I don't work on Saturdays. I will call you first thing Monday morning. And obviously if they're in a crisis and if it's an emergency, I'm going to handle that right then and there. But most of the time, if somebody's calling me on a Saturday, it's something that can wait till Monday morning. And so,
sure. Absolutely.
There's not a whole lot I can do. Yeah. And so it's just having that. It really is having the time freedom to be able to live my life and to be able to enjoy my life, and to not have to say, oh, I can't do that because I have to work, because I've been there, done that, because as a teacher I worked 2 other jobs to make ends meet, right? And so I've been there, done that. And so, so that to me is the most important thing that has come out of this whole experience for me is really the time freedom.
That's awesome. Okay, now what's the worst part?
The worst part is not knowing where the money's coming from every month.
Oh man,
right?
I hate that.
So,
yeah. Oh my God.
Being an entrepreneur means I have an irregular budget form from my business income, and that every month I have no idea how much money I'm going to make. Like, I have a goal, obviously.
Right.
But coming from a life where I was used to getting a paycheck every 2 weeks or once a month or whatever the case may be, that's really the worst part. And especially for me, because because everything with money is so attached to the budget for me, to be able to say, I for instance, I was just speaking to someone last week about a coaching program that they do, and talking about what I would need to pay them and whatnot. And we're like, okay, well,
right.
I don't have that money right now. I'm not sure when I will have that money, but I will just let you know, and of course there's that balance of taking risk and not taking risk. And I'm not sure I'm at the point where I'm ready to take a huge financial risk in making that large of an investment. and then hoping everything will come true on the back end of it. Like I'm
right.
just
not
sure I'm quite ready for that yet. So that part is frustrating because there are things that I have to just kind of take a step back and say, well, that might just have to wait until I can bootstrap that part of it, because my business is debt free and I like to keep it that way. I can't be a financial coach coaching people to get out of debt and don't take on debt, and then have my business be $50,000 or $60,000 into debt. It doesn't work that way. I have to live what I preach, right? Because that's just the way I am. And so, but that's the most frustrating part, is just not knowing from month to month how much money I'm going to make. On one hand, it's exciting, but on the other hand, it's also the frustrating part of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yep. No, I get that. Yeah. I've read so many books with like, or even better, I've read a lot of books talk about clients attraction and all that, and that's great. But I love the Facebook ads where it's like, are you unsure of where your next client is coming from? Are you unsure if you're going to get another paycheck? I was like, really, dude? Like,
really?
Way to be in tune with what everybody needs. But that's like what everybody needs, like way to go,
Right, that's exactly. And
kind of want to know a little bit more,
Yes, and in my own personal opinion, I don't think there is any one magic formula to getting clients, because everybody's different. I mean, my business is mostly run through referrals, and what I've had to do is teach my clients. So I'm kind of in a tricky position because, like, if you go to a restaurant and you love the restaurant, you'll be all over Facebook promoting the restaurant, telling people to go to the restaurant. But if you're in a financial mess and you're meeting with a financial coach, you may or may not be posting all over Facebook that you met with the financial coach, and everybody needs to go see the financial coach. And so what I've learned is I've had to teach my clients how to refer me without tipping their hand that they met with me, right? And so that's been like kind of a tricky thing, because I do have people that meet with me and they'll post on Facebook that we had a great meeting and they feel good about having a plan going forward and stuff. And then I have people who live local to me that don't want to meet me. So I meet all my clients in coffee shops. I don't have a brick and mortar office space.
Right.
And they don't want to meet with me out in public because they don't want people to assume that we're having a financial coaching session. Because when we're not having a coaching session with somebody, I've got my laptop out, we've got paperwork everywhere. I mean, it is obvious that we're having like a working meeting of some sort. It's not like we're just hanging out having coffee, And so there's a distinct difference there. So and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly happy accommodating people, meeting them where they are, and doing whatever I need to do on my end to help them. And so there's the two ends of the spectrum there. That there are some people that are like, everything we talk about is confidential, right? I'm like, yes, I will not say one word to anybody that we even had a phone conversation. Like that I won't, And then, like I said, there are other people that, like, I had a lady one time. I was meeting with her, and at the end of the coaching session, she turned around to the people that were at the table next to us and said, if you guys need help with money, you need to talk to this lady right here. Like, she was introducing me to people in the coffee shop, like these random people, right? And I love that, right? And I was ready for that. I had my business cards. I introduced myself, all that kind of stuff. But it was still, like, not everybody's going to do that. So I've had to learn as a business owner, again, to meet people where they're at and to teach them, like, okay, this is how you refer me without tipping your hand, that we actually met, and to kind of help people through that part of it. So, yeah.
Right. So Dave Ramsey has the debt snowball, list your debts from little to biggest and start knocking them out, monthly payments, whatever your minimums are. Then you just take the next payment, add it to the next payment, and the next one, and the next one. You start knocking stuff out, right?
Right.
Is that the only way? I mean, Dave Ramsey's like the number one guy. it's hard to like, well, Dave Ramsey says, so I guess I'll just do that. But I mean, is that the only way, or do you kind of teach something different?
Teach what
Perfect.
I did, because I don't know any other
perfect.
way.
I
right?
love that. That's what I was kind of asking.
Yeah, I know of other ways, because obviously being in the personal finance space, there are people that I follow and that we collaborate together or whatnot that have done other methods of getting out of debt, not the Dave Ramsey, but I teach what I know, and I know that the debt snowball is what got us out of over $40,000 worth of debt, and if it worked for me, I know it's going to work for somebody else. So I teach what worked for me.
And a budget.
There are a lot of people that are like, and the budget, and there are a lot of people
gotta have a budget.
But I have this credit card with an interest rate of 27%, and I want to pay that off first. And I just look at them and I go, okay, then pay that off first. Like I can teach the debt snowball method, and I can show them on the piece of paper, and I can teach them how to do it. But if they really want to pay off that card with the 27% interest rate first, then I tell them to then just move that up to number one. We'll pay that off first, and then we'll continue, the rest of the way, because that's what I have found works best in my coaching, because not everyone fits into the Dave Ramsey system or is familiar with Dave Ramsey or, whatever. Like, they kind of want to do their own thing. So my job is to help them come up with a plan that they will follow, and that's really the ultimate thing. And so I don't want to teach them something that they won't or they can't follow, And so, like I said earlier there are people that are dead set on, I'm going out to dinner every Friday and Saturday night. Okay, keep doing that. And they kind of look at me like, that is not what I expected you to say. I'm like, I know that. But here's the thing. You can go out to dinner every Friday and Saturday night, or you can maybe just go out to dinner Friday night and stay home Saturday night. Or if you go out to dinner, do you really need drinks, an appetizer, a meal, and dessert, and then drinks again? Or could you just go out to dinner and have an appetizer and some water or a soda, and then, pick up some beer or wine on the way home to the grocery store and whatever? What are all the options that are available to you? And that's really where I feel like my job is to provide all of the options that are available. And then people say, oh, okay, well, yes, I can do this, but to show them the result of their actions. Like, if you do this, then this is going to happen. So if you want to get out of debt in 5 years, you're going to have to not go out to dinner at all. But if you want to get out of debt in 6 or 7 years, then you could go out to dinner once every once. So it's just showing them, these are all your options, and these are the results of your options. What do you want to put together that you feel you can follow and you can stick to? And that's my job, is to help them create that process.
Yeah, we suck at a budget. I'm not even gonna lie. And I dissect everything. Well, I dissect everything. I'm too, what do you call it? Analytical, or here's the thing, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm all about planning to fail. I always, whenever I have my goals and my things, when I was applying to TED Talk, I was like, let's apply to some TEDx events, I'm planning on rejections. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm just planning. Some people are like, oh, I got this. I'm going to have, and then they get disappointed. So I take that mentality everywhere I go. And so we run down our budgets. We got this bill, got the cell phone, got all this. We just got rid of DirecTV, which is great. It was like $160 a month. Cut the cord on that. We're like, I'm just done. Why? We don't need it. We're just going to sit here in front of the TV the whole time. You get something like Netflix for $10, or you can get, whatever.
Right.
So they have the antennas now, $15 at Walmart. Go buy a USB antenna, and and you get local TV. So what we did is we went and got a Fire Stick. We paid one time, it's $40.
Cool.
Got the Fire Stick.
Yes.
Has the movies, has the apps, has everything we need, and that's what we use. And it's a one-time deal. So we haven't paid a cable bill in 2 months. It's been amazing.
That's awesome.
But I look at the budget and I'm like, well, I can't plan for every single thing that's ever going to happen. If we smash our cars, we have, insurance, but that's a $500 deductible. Do I budget for that, or do I not budget? What am I budgeting for? And I know you have to build your emergency fund and everything, but and so we were looking at our budget. We're like, okay, $100 here, $200 here. Here's here's your cell phone bills, like this much money, whatever, and here's what you have left over. I'm like, all right, well, you need money for this, get money for this. I'm like $0 at the end of my budget is what I want to be at,
Right.
But I was like, I can't plan for, if somebody calls me and says, hey, dude, we should go out to dinner. Like, nope, not in the budget. Can't happen.
Not in the budget. But
so
you
weird.
can. But you can.
It's so weird.
Right. And so that's the thing I teach my clients is the number one phrase, and it's actually, on Black Friday essentially starts shopping season, right? And so I run these Instagram posts and stuff that, don't get wrapped into shiny object season. Like, you can say it's not in the budget. So it's a mindset shift. So instead of saying I can't afford it, you say it's not in the budget, because we can afford anything we want. Dave Ramsey gives an excellent example in FPU about a situation where if your kid needed medicine and you had to save up $500 to get this medicine, and you couldn't use money that you already had in savings, like you had to start from day one and save up $500, and if the kid didn't get the medicine, the kid was going to die. And he said, you can save up $500 pretty quickly if that was your situation. So instead of saying, I can't afford it, you say, how can I get the money to be able to do that? Or what am I willing to give up in order to do whatever? So in a situation like, you have your budget and your friends call and say, hey, can we go out to dinner? And you really want to go, you can say yes to that, but that means you have to give up something else so that your budget is still zero, zero balances. So that means you have, the one thing I teach is to have that miscellaneous line item in the budget. And the miscellaneous line item is exactly for that. It's for the little things that come up. But again, you have to look at what is your return on the investment of your time and money to go out to dinner, right? Like if it's a business thing, you're saying yes to that because you don't want to give up making business connections. But if it's just your friends going out, hanging out, you'd be like, hey, you know what? I can't go out this Friday, but maybe I can go out the following Friday after I get paid again. I'll rework the budget and see what I can do about, that sort of thing. And and what happens is over time, what's happened for us is over time, our friends and family have come to learn that we can probably figure out how to make it work, but don't just drop something on us. It's because the misconception, and this is not just me. I've had this conversation with a lot of other people who have gone through the debt-free process and are very vocal about it, that because we're debt-free, we now have unlimited funds to spend on anything we want. And that is absolutely not the case, because every dollar has a job to do. Yep. And so just because we're debt-free, so the only debt we have is our mortgage, and we have two incomes. And so the misconception is, oh, look, you have two incomes. The only debt you have is your mortgage, and you have other household bills, and people know that we are pretty frugal. People, all this sort of thing. So the assumption is made, call them for, the biggest thing we get called for is for us to make donations to various charities, right? And so all of that is usually run through my business. And I'll just say to people, I have a budgeted amount every quarter, and I've already used it up. So you can put me on the list, call me next quarter, and I'll see, what's going on. And people are very taken aback by that because they're like, but you have money. Yes, but all my money is already spoken for, right? Because we have retirement that is planning. We have other things that we would like to do with our money aside from just giving it all to charity. That doesn't mean that we don't give any money to charity, but it's like, we have we have goals and we have other things that we want to do. So it's just it's just a mindset thing of what do I want to do? What can I do differently? Where does it fit in the line item and the budget and all that stuff? But the most important thing is that every dollar has a job, and you say it's not in the budget, and those are the two most important things.
And in 2 days is Black Friday, so I know a lot of people. I wonder if they're budgeting for, the shopping season and everything. But what about? I mean, should they? I mean, I guess the budgeting would be the same thing, right? I mean, you're budgeting for Black Friday gifts. You know, if you're going to go out or whatever, you're going to spend a certain amount of money, or you're going to, right?
Correct.
So what's your advice for people who are wondering, you know, how they're going to afford Black Friday gifts, or what should they do? What's the best deals? And is it online? Is it going to the stores? You know, what's your recommendations for people who want to go on Black Friday in the next couple of days?
Well, I will preface this by saying that I am not a Black Friday shopper, so I don't get wrapped up in all that stuff.
Right.
But the one piece of this is that you knew 12 months ago that Black Friday was happening in 2 days. So ideally, you would have started planning for this Black Friday last year, you know, at this point in time, and putting money away every month, right? But most people don't do that. So the number one piece of advice is, number one, don't get caught up in the hype. Like, people have to understand that the store's main goal is for you to buy stuff. And things are a great deal, but it's not a great deal if you can't afford it. And so there's a great meme that goes around on Facebook every once in a while that says something to the effect of, you know, I saved $500 by not going to Target today, or something like that, you know. Because if you don't have the money, it's not a great deal. I don't care if a TV was $1,000 today and it's $500 on Black Friday. If you don't have the $500 to buy it, it's not a great deal. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. And that it just comes down to the mindset shift. Like, people get so caught up, consumerism part of the holidays. People get so caught up in, I have to have. You know, there's I forget what podcast or whatever I was listening to, but the greatest example is Costco, right? That when you go to Costco or any of those big, like BJ's or Sam's Club, any of those big warehouse type membership stores, that they have taught us that if you don't buy it when you see it, you will never be able to get it, because they rotate their stock, right?
Okay, so
right?
let me stop you right there.
Yeah,
so my
ahead.
wife and I firmly believe in that theory, okay? I'm not even joking. Okay, so my wife and I will go to a store, and she's like, oh, my God, I really want that. I'm like, no, come back and get it next time. She goes, you know it won't be here. And then, like, 2 weeks later, it's not there. She's like, I knew I should have bought it.
Right.
Or
but
I did the same
what?
thing. I'm like, son of a, I knew I should have bought it. Because now it's on sale, right? It's on sale. And like a week and a half later, I'm like, oh, I'm coming back. Like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna come back. I got a lot of things going on right now. I can't stop. I just got to go. I'll be back in a week, you know? And then in a week, like, the sale's gone and it goes back up to, like, you know, $100 or it increased, whatever. I'm like, oh, I should have bought it. Or you try to get one cheaper.
Should have bought it.
Right? I'm at Walmart, I get it cheaper at Target. Or I'm at Target, I'll get it cheaper at the mall. Or the mall, I'll get it cheaper. And then you're price shopping, and then, I'll just go get it tomorrow. And you go back where the original store was, and it's gone.
And it's gone, right, in the amount of time.
God.
So one thing I've learned, again, in business is that there is a dollar value to my time. And so that's why I don't get caught up in the Black Friday. Like, I will probably go get a newspaper tomorrow and look through all the ads, just because I think it's something fun to do and just to kind of look. But it's not so much for me as it is for, again, going back to me being a helper person, where I know somebody's looking for something, and I'll be like, oh, I saw it in the Target ad, or I saw it in the whatever ad. I look at it as, like, you know, research, you know, not so much for myself. Because we've really gotten away from the consumerism and trying to keep up with everybody and you know, making sure we had the latest and the greatest. And you know, for example, we only have one TV in our house, and a lot of people are surprised by that, right? And so and it's like not a 32-inch, but it's not an 80-inch. I think it's like a 40-inch something maybe is. I mean, it's not a great, And we've had it for like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, we've had ours for about 4 or 5 years,
Yep, every once in a while it gets a little fritzy, and we're like, oh, maybe we should look into getting a new TV. And, you know, and then we research new TVs, and we're like,
Right.
That's a lot
I
of
enjoy
money
being
for a new
debt-free.
TV. Like, yeah, like, you know, like, but again, it becomes, okay, do we want to spend the cash and buy the new TV, or can we wait until, and again, it goes back and forth to, like, we don't really need a new TV, and if our TV totally went out, like, you know, I have a laptop, my husband has a laptop, so, like, we could make do without having a big TV.
Sure.
Now, I will confess that we do have cable because I am an adamant football fan, and where we live in southeastern North Carolina. We basically live in a forest of pine trees. So
you live in like those sticks.
We did well. We live in a neighborhood, but we have pine trees everywhere. We did do the whole HD antenna thing, but what happened was during a football game, we had like, it was windy or rainy or something, so the signal kept going in and out, and I kept yelling at the TV because the signal kept going out. Like, I'm the classic, like, rabid sports fan that gets upset when the signal goes out in the middle of me watching the game. And, you know, and so my husband just turned around to me and he goes, you know, being that we're debt-free and all, I think we could possibly afford to just get cable and not have to deal with this anymore. And so it was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. And so we went ahead and we got the cable, and it's fine. I mean, it's just a line item in the budget. But it's for me, every time a football game is on, I can sit down and watch the football game, and I can relax, and I can chill, and I can watch the game, and I can be mad that my team is losing, but not also be mad that I'm getting a crappy signal because of the HD.
Right. Yep.
You know, but that's a decision of, like, that's also a mindset thing. Like, we went for almost 4 years without spending money on anything that wasn't absolutely necessary to get out of debt, that now we look at each other and we go, you know what, we can afford that. Like, that can be a line item in our budget if that's what we want to do. And knowing that at any time we can give it up. If something happened and we needed the cable money for something else, I can totally go cancel it and I'd be okay with it. I prefer it happens after football season, but you know, it's the same. It's just one of those things, you know. Because that's a mindset shift too, to be able to say, oh, you know what, we can afford that now. Like, we can have that in the budget if we want it. You know, it's not, we don't have to, but we have to be careful to not do that all the time. Like my husband and I have a good system of checks and balances to be like, oh, we want this thing, and then one of us will be like, let's wait on it and let's just sit on it for a while and decide if we really want it or if we just think we want it. You know, that, and having to pay cash for things really does put a stop process in place for us, especially if it's a big ticket item, because it really forces us to stop and go, do we really want to spend the money that we have in savings to do that certain thing, or would we rather just have it sit in savings? Because one thing about having this mindset shift is you become really protective of the money that we've built up in savings, because we know what it's like to not have savings, and we don't want to feel like that anymore. So we just become very protective of everything within our budget and our savings because of that.
Right. So as we wrap up and close out the show, real quick, what do you think is the best resource that you've used so far? Is it, like, I've got the Mint app. I've got something called there's an app called Joseph Sengel is a financial speaker. Saw him a couple times, and his company is I Was Broke and Now I'm Not, and it's basically using money God's way. Yeah, and it's literally like he uses biblical principles of how you should be saving money and tithing and, you know, all that stuff. And he has an app called I Was Broke Now I'm Not. So I have both of those apps. I've seen the envelope system. You know, like you put money into an envelope, and if that money's gone, then that money's gone, and you don't buy whatever, you know. So if you severely undercut yourself in groceries, what's that?
Yeah. I said I still use the envelope system today.
I think it's too unreliable. I think it's too unreliable, especially when it comes to groceries. You know, like, I don't know how much groceries are. I mean, if we only budgeted $200 for groceries, we go $205. I mean, what don't we buy that we absolutely need? I mean, I don't know. Or you take it out of one envelope and then I don't know. It's kind of confusing.
Yeah. Well, I
just average everything.
I use sort of like a as needed envelope system. So, for example, I don't pull cash out of our paycheck and put it into all these different envelopes anymore because my money personality is such that if I have cash, I feel like I need to spend it because that's still a bad hangover habit, right, from my bad money days. And so I have a hard time just keeping money in my wallet. And so I need it to have a purpose. And so what I'll do is when I go to Costco, I'll go to the ATM and I'll pull out $300 or $400, whatever, depending upon how much I'm buying. Like if I'm only buying 2 things and I'm not pulling out that much money. But for years I kept records of how much things cost. And so I know when I go to Costco to do our monthly shopping trip, I know that's going to be a $300 bill. And then when I go through Costco, I write down the prices. I take a little notebook with me and I write down the prices, and I just make sure as I'm pulling things off the shelf.
Perfect.
I did the same thing with my son today. We went to the grocery store earlier, and he's 12, and I said, get a piece of paper and a pen because you're doing price check today. And he was like, okay. So as we throw things off the shelf, he's writing the things down. And, I said our goal is between $70 and $80. And he's like, okay, that's great. And so I taught him about rounding up the prices to make it easier to add everything. And he added everything up, and it was like $78 or whatever. And then our bill came in at $69, And so that
awesome.
gave him an idea, because we're trying to teach them the same thing. So, but to get back to your original question, 2 things that are very important. Number 1 is paying attention. That's my number 1 piece of financial advice that I give attention. Not so much what you're spending the money on, but the circumstances surrounding the purchase. Because a lot of times we make emotional purchases, not purchases based on needs. And so, I give the example of women especially have this, I deserve it thing. Well, I deserve to go buy a new pair of shoes. Well, not if you already have 20 pairs. You maybe don't need a new pair, but it's an emotional, it becomes an emotional spending type thing. And then the other thing, as far as a tool is concerned, I don't use any apps. I don't use any electronic anything. I do the budget every month in a notebook using a pencil and a calculator, and that's how I started doing the budget. That's how I always do the budget. That's how I teach my clients to do a budget, because there's something that becomes very real about handling your money when you have to pick up a pencil and write it out in a book and making that physical connection instead of just letting an Excel document do all the calculations for you. It makes it real
that's what we do.
to do that. So those 2 things, the paying attention and the doing the budget, those are the 2 most important things, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. So we got to close the show. Give us a shameless plug, 30-second shameless plug moment. You can plug your friends, quotes, websites, Facebook, whatever you want to plug. 30 seconds, go.
Okay, so I'm going to plug my book. Because I just published my first book, came out in August. It's called Building My Yellow Brick Road, Life Lessons from Pursuing a Dream. It is a memoir of my last 25 years of pursuing my dream to meet Elton John. And I have been told it's an inspirational book. It's an educational book. It's a great read. And it's not all about Elton John. So there's a lot of awesome concert stories in there because I've had some pretty epic adventures along the way. But it's also a learning tool, an educational tool. Each chapter has a life lesson at the end of it that people can apply to their own lives as they pursue their own dreams and goals.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. It has been an absolute pleasure. I learned a ton. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was super fun. I appreciate it.
All right. So I'm sure we'll be in touch, and you have a great Thanksgiving.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Sean. You too.
All right. Life Transformation Radio listeners, another amazing episode with amazing guests. If anything resonated with you, contact Melissa. You want to hook up with her. Get your finances in order for the upcoming year and for the shopping season. And as we close the show, I always say, live your brand. find opportunities every day to live out the values that you hold deep in your heart. I call that living your brand. Have a good night.